Its energy surrounds us and binds us.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Carbonite Convos. This is episode 18, and I'm joined by my co-host, Alec Porterfield, aka Wallcrawler Pops. Alec, how we doing today?
Nikolai, what's up, brother? How we doing today, man?
I cannot complain. We have a huge Mando episode to unpack tonight. But before we get into that, we have Ian from Talking with My Hans on YouTube and all the social media platforms. Ian, how we doing today, my man?
Oh, I am just over the moon, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
It's hard to be in a bad mood when The Mandalorian drops an episode like that, isn't it? Like, it's hard to, like, just be down about it. And that's, talking about social media platforms, I'm sure we'll get into this at some point. But, like,
yes,
to watch that episode and just be so jacked up about how awesome it was, and then to go on social media and see some kid that's like, oh, the Lacus weren't as long as they were in Rebels. And you're like, oh, can you please shut up for 2 days, please, and let me be happy about something?
Oh, right. I know.
But
I know. And
damn, I'm jacked up. I'm having a great weekend.
Yeah.
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
it was so exciting. And, like, that headpiece was something I mentioned, too, because it was something I noticed. I was like, they're shorter than I thought. But, I'm not going to let that, like, affect the view of how I look at that character, because Rosario Dawson played Ahsoka. I think she played her incredible. And I couldn't have been happier with how, that episode went. But I said we just get right into this Mando talk. Speaking of Ahsoka, when I was watching it today, I wanted to count down how quick she gets in the show. So from the second the opening crawl or shimmering lights on the helmets, the intro, by the time that ends, she comes in at 37 seconds. And I know Alec and I, we did a reaction together that we were in disbelief it was that quick. How did you how did you guys react to that?
First of all, love the reaction.
Thank you.
I was a viewer. Hi. Well done. I appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir.
I'm a viewer. I'm a big fan of the show. I think I put my reaction in my video too. I was I was spooked. Like when she said it, I was like, oh my God. Like, okay, we're doing this. Like I thought, I was ready to put down Vegas odds that it was going to be like a Luke Skywalker thing, like from The Force Awakens. Like it was going to we're going to get a one-shot cameo at the end, and then maybe next week she'll be in it a little bit more. That's what I thought, man. I was ready to put some big money on that. And I'm glad I didn't, because she ends up being in the whole episode, and you just said 35 seconds into the thing. I almost jumped. Like, it was almost scary. I was not prepared. But, like, this show does that all the time, right? Like, it just completely defies expectations all the time. So should I have expected anything less? No, maybe not.
100%. 100%. I know when we were watching it, it's pretty much along the same lines. We were sitting there watching it, and it's almost, you see the lightsabers for a couple seconds, and it takes you a second to register.
Well, you even hear it first.
Yeah, you hear it, you see it, and you're just, I feel like I was confused for like a split second, and because I expected her at the end as well. Well, a little before the end. I didn't think within a minute she would show up, so it took me a second to register it, and then once I did, I was freaking out. And I remember like swiping to the side on my computer to see Alex's face when that happened, and he was loving it.
Yeah, man, it was my whole thing. Like, how usually they do it, where they'll kind of dive into the very beginning of the story, and then they'll flash to like the Mandalorian logo, and they'll play the theme and that sort of thing. I expected it to be like, oh, we're gonna set up this whole town, like what's like the dictatorship going on here, blah, blah, yada yada yada. Then cut to like the Mando song, and then they go to Din in the Razor Crest, like doing their thing. But again, just like we said, we were both like completely shocked that it happened so quickly.
Oh yeah.
I have no idea what the thought process was for the opening scene. I wonder if they went into this season, they were writing it, and they honestly said, you know what, like everybody knows she's going to be in this episode. Like, why don't we just go all out? You know, why milk it? Like, why wait till the end to show it? Like, why not just throw her in literally from the get-go and just say, man, if we're going to do Ahsoka, like, let's do it. Let's go all in. Let's get the lightsabers out. Let's get her having a fight scene in the opening scene. Let's have her throw a couple of really awesome lines out there and then just be off to the races. You know, like, that seems to be, like, what I'm thinking went down in the production room. I don't know if that's the case, but, like, if it was me, I can see why they would do that. Like, let's not dance around this. Like, everybody guessed that Ahsoka was going to be in the season in, I don't know, August. When did that holdout news drop about Rosario? It came out on NBC, right? Like,
it was early. Like, it was early on.
Early. And they were probably like, you know what? Well, it had been done at that point, but, like, I would imagine, like let's just do it. Like, let's just do the whole thing.
Yeah. And I think that, like, by week 2, or by episode 1, didn't we get the list of directors for the shows, like the real list? So I think around that time when that came out, people started putting the pieces together that okay, we're not going to get Ahsoka the first couple episodes. So episode 5 seems realistic, and Dave Filoni directing it is just the cherry on top that kind of pushed people over the edge, that we know she's going to be in this episode. And if you don't, I think if they wouldn't have shown her this week, like, it would have been nuts, like, not shown her at all. But I think you're exactly right. Everybody knew that Ahsoka was going to be there. So why not go, like, balls to the wall? Like, that was an incredible episode. What did we think of her, like, lightsabers and, like, her fighting style?
Alec, you want to take this one?
Yeah.
Because I got a lot to say.
Right.
I love it.
I mean, my first takeaways are, I think she did a good job. Just because, like, her movements have always been very, not like slow, but just very, very powerful and very, very strong. Very, I don't want to say barbaric, because that's not a good word to describe it, but it's just very, it's not the most elegant thing in the world.
No, she's not Count Dooku. You know, she's not
exactly.
She's not saucy. Like, she just slashes the saber. She just gets in there. She just goes
hash and slash, baby.
That's it.
I was surprised it took her long enough to flip that thing around, because, like, obviously, you know, she has, like, she holds the hilt downwards. So I was just surprised it took her to that fight, to that big fight, to be able to do that. And I personally got super hyped when she did that. I'm like, there it is. Like, been waiting for that for a hot minute. Like, that's, yeah.
There was some discourse. I'm sure you boys saw it on the social media sites about her style, like the way she moved in the episode, which is another one of those things that, like, sort of comes up on Star Wars Twitter or Star Wars Facebook. It's like, everybody is a graphic designer on Twitter. Everybody is a choreographer on Twitter. You know, they're all like, oh, that was too slow. Oh, the Leku wasn't right. First of all, it's live action. It's not animation. Not going to move at the speed of sound. Exactly. But also, like, I personally didn't think that Rosario's fighting style was that different from what we saw from Rebels Ahsoka, which was a much more slow and steady and precise fighting style than what she was in the Clone Wars. In the Clone Wars, she's almost like, I don't want to say Yoda-like, but she's, you know, she's backflipping, she's going all over the place. She's very
going
quick.
Everywhere.
I think as she aged, I think she just kind of simplified it. I think she moves a lot slower in Rebels. I think it's a lot more dignified in Rebels. I think that's what they went for here. Obviously, this is obviously a lot closer to Rebels than Clone Wars is, right? The 20 years or so between her time with Anakin and then her time with Phoenix Squadron. It's much closer to her time with Phoenix Squadron. So it would make sense that, like, this slower style of Ahsoka fighting just sort of fits in with this show.
She's also old at this point. Like,
yeah, she's gonna slow down here. I did the math yesterday with one of my friends. I think she's 45, 42 or 45.
That's where I was estimating, like, in her, like, early to mid 40s.
And that, you know, I don't know how long, truth be told, Togrutas live. I don't know the lore behind their whole species. But
No clue.
45, moving around at 45,
especially like her, she's jumping on top of roofs.
Yeah, and she's been going at this for a while now.
Right.
I mean, she's no spring trick. Like, this isn't her first rodeo with the Jedi.
Yeah.
She's been in a few fights before, guys.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: Have you read the Ahsoka book?
I have.
So,
Alec, are you an Ahsoka book reader?
He has not.
I have not. I need to.
Man, you gotta get into when the last time I saw you two, I told you guys to start reading some Star Wars books.
Oh, dude, I've been reading, man.
That?
I've been reading.
Dog.
Oh yeah.
You gotta get into some of these books, man. But I actually have read the Ahsoka. It's up on my shelf. You guys can't see it, but it is up there.
Oh yeah, man. After I watched it the first time, I kind of just started thinking about the book to see how it correlated. And like, what did you think about the book going with this episode? Because I thought it was very along the. I want to hear what you have to say first, and then I'll pile on top.
As far as the Ahsoka book goes, I've kind of completely discredited it, to be honest with you. I loved the book.
Yeah.
I read through it. It was a great read. But this came out before season 7 of the Clone Wars came out.
Yeah.
Like, this was before, like, people actually thought that we were even going to get season 7 of the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Before the trailer dropped, this book came out. So this is like 2016, maybe this book came out. It's an older book. And a lot of that doesn't line up with season 7. There are details about the Siege of Mandalore, like big plot details about the Siege of Mandalore, that do not line up in the book.
Yeah.
So I've sort of kind of discredited it a little bit. And truth be told, I didn't really think about it when the episode came through, just because in my mind, it's already like, you know what? It's not on my radar. Like, I've kind of discredited it, but that doesn't mean I didn't love the book, because I did. Like, it's one of E.K. Johnson's best, next to Queen's Shadow and Queen's Peril. I think that's probably her second best, next to Peril, to be honest with you. But I've sort of discredited it in my head, to be honest with you.
See, personally, like, I think maybe it's because I just finished it like a couple weeks ago. So, like, I'm sure you read it a while ago, right? So I'm sure. Yeah, I think it's just still fresh for me. So I was like, that was my last big dose of Ahsoka. So I've just kind of been thinking about it. And the way that she was trying to protect the people at that base or whatever, that town, that was the main thing that I compared with the Ahsoka book, is because she came in and she just wanted to help people after, like, when she noticed something was wrong. Obviously in the book, she goes there to lay low after Order 66, but she
gets involved.
Exactly. She ends up freeing all these people from Imperials. And I really compared that a lot.
Well, you know what, too, now that you bring that up, that's a lot of what Ahsoka's character is post her time with the Jedi. This is a bad way to analogize, or how do I want to say? Yeah, it's a bad way to look at this, but she kind of has to see something, say something attitude, like after her time with the Jedi. She leaves, you can step away from the Jedi, but you really can't take the Jedi out of a person. And that's kind of what Ahsoka carries forward after her time with the Jedi. We see it even in season 7 of the Clone Wars, right? Like, as soon as she leaves the Jedi, she's helping out the Martez sisters. She doesn't have to, but she does, right? Like, that's kind of just her character. And that's something that not a lot of people have talked about, if any, after this episode has come out, how in line it was that she was there on Corvus completely, just helping the townspeople when she didn't have to. Obviously, we learn at the end of the episode, which is something we'll get into, why she's on Corvus, right? But she doesn't have to help the townspeople. She's just like, you know what? This is the right thing to do. And she was. And it's a beautiful point you brought up. It's I think it's something that E.K. Johnson recognized early. And I think it's something that the rest of us have now been awakened to in this post, Jedi Order era for Ahsoka. We all been kind of like, oh, like, this is who she is. But you're absolutely right. Alex sitting here and he's like, I don't know.
Dude, I'm just taking all this in. I think it's just from the outside looking in the conversation right now. Each one of you has very valid points. And I'm very interested in the book myself, just especially when you say like they don't line up necessarily. That's really interesting.
To give you a quick like back, so it's like there are 3 different parts of the book. They're like 3 or 4 pages long, but they're spread out. One is from Obi-Wan's eyes. Another is from I can't even remember, but the first one is Ahsoka's, and that's where she's kind of telling the story of what's going on during the Siege of Mandalore and Order 66. I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
You're on it.
Yeah, so it's kind of one of those back things, but then the rest of it is just like a story of what she was doing a year after Order 66.
Okay.
So it wasn't like directly after, but it did reference like the Siege of Mandalore stuff and kind of make some blurry lines and plot holes.
But this was, this was written well before.
Yeah.
I'm sure even there was production of the Clone Wars season 7. I'm sure this was written before that because this book came out in, what did I just say, 2016? I don't even know. It's been so long ago now.
So I have one more thing in mind about Ahsoka, and then we'll get into talking about Mando for a little bit if you guys are good with it. What did we think of Morai showing up on the tree?
I mean, it was very subtle.
Yes.
It took me like 3 or 4 times to catch it because I had to keep going back. I knew about the time it was in. I'm like, I don't even see her.
I saw it on TikTok. Alex sent me a TikTok. Yeah, I saw it. I was like, oh, wow. Because I had only watched the episode once up to that point. Yeah. And then I was like looking at something he sent me, and I was like, oh, my goodness. And then right when I was taking notes for the show earlier, I watched it. So I was like pretty – it kind of gives you chills a little bit. It
does. It was interesting to see her as like an actual animal. I know she's an animal in the animated series, but like she's a little like more circular, like kind of goofier looking.
Junky, she's round.
Yeah, but like in that she looked like a legit like bird of prey.
Owl.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I think that was really cool. Just a more realistic touch to it.
I did catch it the first time, not to flex on you guys, not to,
Dude, that's
not to
great.
be, I did catch it as soon as it panned by, because it's kind of in the foreground a little bit.
Yeah,
I was like, oh my god, there's the owl, like there it is.
I think what's cool. Sorry, go ahead, man.
No, and it was the perfect place to put the owl.
Yeah,
because it was before you meet Ahsoka. Like it's that panning shot as Din's walking through the forest.
Yep.
Right? And you kind of sneak the owl in there just for a little bit, and I was like, oh my god, there it is. And in the back of my head, I was like, wow, we're gonna have an actual like moment here. And I kind of got me amped up. I don't know how many people caught it on the first
probably not very many.
I don't think there was. I mean, obviously, you just said the TikTok. I think a lot of people saw on Twitter.
Yeah, he sent me the TikTok, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I had to watch it."
There he is. There she is. It's crazy.
I think what's cool. Sorry, go ahead, man.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say something stupid, but go ahead.
Well, I'd much rather hear that.
No. Go ahead.
So when I watched it through, and specifically looked for it, what's cool is when they pan away from the owl, you see it switches sides. So now you're in front of Mando. And the owl's in the background. She's standing there, and it's cool because in the cartoon version, she, like you said, she's chunky. The back of her is brown, and then she has a very solid white belly. If you look, like it's blurry, but if you look in the background, you can just see the just perfectly white underbelly. And it was I was like, man, that's definitely her. I don't know if you saw our tweet, but dude, it took us 16 attempts to get our reaction video on YouTube yesterday. It was nuts.
Kidding.
Yeah, and what's weird was after I did the 15th, I heard an owl, right?
Kidding.
Yes, because I was sitting with my dad watching, I convinced my dad to watch Clone Wars, so we're out there watching it. I'm doing this. I'm pissed. I was like, this is 15 times. It's like 2 a.m., my dad's like, there's that damn owl. I was like, what? And he shines it, and there's just an owl in the tree. I was like, I got to try one more time. I was like, that was
what's funny?
And it went.
Last night, I'm in my bed. It's like 1 a.m, and I check YouTube just to see how the video's like getting along.
Yeah.
And I'm not even kidding you. I shut YouTube off, and I put my phone away, and an owl screeches outside. I'm not kidding you. There's an owl outside last night. I was like, this is wild stuff happening right now.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you know what? You have to know that Dave Filoni was the one that was like, we got to get the owl in here. We got to get more out of
100%.
here.
I'm curious to see how much he like actually contributed as far as like what ideas he brought to the table that needed to happen. Just because obviously there's several like mentions to Clone Wars and those sort of things. Like I'm curious of how much of it was more of like the writers like actually doing this, or like was like Dave more along the lines of like, hey, this needs to happen.
You know, I tweeted this morning, and it was a thought that I had last night. I actually think that Dave had a lot of input on this episode, just because of the way the episode was kind of, I don't want to say structured, but the oh God, what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm going to completely rephrase this. The way the episode paid homage to Star Wars source material, Westerns and samurai films. I mean, this was the Western and samurai film mashup of the decade. And Dave
It was going on
Filoni,
at the same time, too.
Same time.
right?
100%.
And that's what I said. Like, at the same time, there was a samurai sword fight and a Mexican standoff in the street. At the same time, I don't know if that's ever been done in any medium ever, but every Star Wars fan knows that Westerns and samurai movies are Star Wars. Like, that's where the medium comes from. And I think Dave Filoni knows that. He's probably the closest thing to George's mind that Disney has right now, next to Kathleen Kennedy. Because Kathleen Kennedy spent a lot of time with George. But next to her, I think Dave Filoni is the guy that has probably spent the most time in a writing room with George Lucas. Right?
100%.
And this had his name written all over it because it was so quintessential source material Star Wars. I have to believe in my heart of hearts that Dave Filoni was probably a big contributor as to what went on in this episode, writing-wise, theme-wise, motif-wise. I think it has his name all over it.
Well, I think of it this way, too. Like, Mandalorian up to this point has been nothing short of incredible and new, you know? But I think they also at the same time had a lot riding on this episode because this was the introduction of Ahsoka. So I think they really they knew they had to get this right, and Dave's been the one to get it right so far, you know?
I absolutely agree. Alec, you're shaking your head.
I mean, in the general, okay, in the last 5 to 8 years of Star Wars that we've had, I think what most people can generally agree upon has been the best, has been the things that Dave has had a direct influence on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's that.
No, you're absolutely right. But it's funny to me that you're so right, Nick, that this episode had so much riding on it. I think if this episode kind of leaves a bad taste in people's mouths, the rest of the season is sort of like a throwaway almost. This is definitely a big turning point, especially because we don't know what's coming in the next 3 episodes. We have no idea, right? Like we have no shots, nothing, right? So the fact that they gave this to Dave is really not surprising, but in a sense that like Dave's season 1 episode, The Gunslinger, might have been the worst episode of that season.
Yeah, it was.
I think there's something to be said there too. Like the guy kind of showed up, right? Like The Gunslinger kind of was not the best episode. I know some people liked it. I thought it was okay. I loved going back to Tatooine. It was very Star Warsy, but I didn't particularly love it.
Yeah,
but the guy turned it around. Dave was like, you know what? Like, okay, maybe that episode stunk a little bit. Like, let's do this 20 times better. And he did. He showed up when it mattered most.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's get into some Mando a little bit. We've talked a lot about Ahsoka. Dave, what do we think of Mando and his opening role kind of coming in there and getting that deal to go kill him? The deal to go kill her.
Dude, I thought that was comical. Like, he literally just manipulated her for all the information he needed.
Yep.
Everything. All right, cool. Sounds good.
Psych. See ya. I'm going to go see the Jedi now. No, I'm not killing her.
How about the staff?
That was cool.
The spear, like whatever you decide to call it.
Spear was really, really neat. I love
so many
spear.
questions, man.
He's got to use it, right? I think
to.
that's what everybody's kind of grabbing from. Is like, okay, like so now we're gonna have a battle here. Like now he's gonna fight Moff Gideon.
Exactly.
Like, he couldn't fight probably Moff Gideon before this, right?
I didn't know about that.
Now that he has a spear, dude, now he can go up against the Darksaber, baby. Now he's one-on-one, man. It doesn't matter now. He's got it going on.
Hell yeah, that's what I was thinking, man. Like with it being Beskar and the fact that it can withstand these kind of attacks, like we can assume that we are going to see a duel with if it's not the Darksaber, it's some kind of saber. I don't know what it'd be, but I assume it'll be with Moff Gideon and the Darksaber. But it's going to be really interesting.
If I could be a little sappy for a minute here on a podcast and not be Din's a badass. I've been loving Din as a whole this whole season. He's kind of really come into his role as like a dad, right? Obviously, in the first season, everybody was joking like, "Oh, this is a show about that was supposed to be this badass bounty hunter, and he learns to be a dad, right?" But like now, he's actually learning how to be a dad. I kind of really love that, not only for the fact that it's sort of different from what Star Wars has gotten, but George Lucas has always said that Star Wars is about fathers and sons, right? Yeah. And the most parenting we see. To be honest, we don't see any parenting in Star Wars. It's a movie franchise about fathers and sons and lineage and family trees, and we see no parenting. This whole series has been about parenting, like actually being a father figure,
and
right?
He's really stepped up,
and he has, and it's great. And I love that about this show, that we went into it thinking that it's just going to be this badass bounty hunter, like run and gun, shoot 'em up, badass missions. And it just ends up being this story about like a guy learning to love again. Like that's great. I think that's amazing.
What do we think of his relationship with Grogu?
Dude, I'm so glad you said that. I was about to ask, like, talking about him being a father, like how sad was that when he's literally like, hey, you need to go now, like, you go be with the Jedi. Like, dude.
Bro,
incredible.
I had a singular tear. It was coming down. I'm not even joking you. The kid was breaking down in his bedroom by himself.
I know.
Recording a reaction video. It's like, why am I crying right now? It's not even...
Dude, my heart was breaking.
But you know what? I think it's kind of a wake-up call, right, for this show. Like,
it's going to happen.
Everybody in the Star Wars fandom needs to realize that this show at some point is going to absolutely break your heart.
Yeah.
And that's a very real thing, right? Like this cannot last forever. This is
everything has been too good, because think of it in season 1, the first time they get the child, he goes right back. The Imperials get him again a couple episodes later, and they got him back within like 5 minutes of the show. So we haven't had that much heartbreak, like I think Queel dying
that was a heartbreaker.
That was sad. IG-11, him going down, that was pretty sad in the end. And since then I can't think of anything really sad that's happened, but that was it's gonna happen
we all
eventually.
Have to be prepared. I think it's gonna be sooner than later. At the end of the season we're gonna see some. Not saying that like Grogu's gonna die. I think that'd be insane.
I think that's gonna.
What were you saying, Alec?
No, I think that's gonna make or break like what fans stay attached to this. Like, and I mean, whatever brings Star Wars into the light for whoever, awesome. Whatever your reason is for watching, great. But I will be kind of disappointed if people kind of trend away from it if Grogu's gone.
See, now I don't know. See, no,
I won't be surprised. I'll just be a little disappointed,
No, I totally agree with you, Al. I totally 100% agree with you. I just don't know if they're going to get rid of him. I just think they've built too much of a brand per se around Grogu to get rid of him. Like,
he's almost an icon now, like a Star Wars icon. Baby Yoda. You see him everywhere you go.
Yeah, and that's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
That is true definition, and I don't want to be John or Dave, because obviously the craziest thing you can do to the show is kill off Grogu, right? Like that's
you can't do
or
it.
Have Grogu get kidnapped. I think if I was going for like a twist, he gets taken by Moff Gideon at the end of the season. Yeah. And then season 3 is let's go get Grogu back. And we have this big buddy cop season with like ready for this? Everybody comes back. Frog Lady, Cara Dune, Grief Karga, those 2 weird New Republic guys. Like we just have this big buddy cop. Like we gotta go get him. Like Ahsoka's there. It's crazy, right?
Dude. That's oh my goodness. Can you imagine?
I like how you threw Frog Lady in there.
Frog Lady's in it.
You can't leave her
She's
out.
part of the clan. She's officially part of the clan.
Dude, she'll be up in that. Yeah, dude, she's nuts. She's like, oh, goodness. So we were talking about his relationship with Grogu and how much was riding on him. Let's talk a little about Ahsoka's relationship with, I'm going to call him Baby Yoda again, man.
Isn't that a problem now, though?
I know.
Like, now
what do you call him?
Wait, see, now, here we go. I'm in this terrible, terrible spot. Because personally, like, in my heart, I call him Baby Yoda. Like, when I'm talking in a non-professional setting, I call him Baby Yoda. For sure. I try as hard as I can, like, in YouTube, and when I do my articles for What's New on Jakku. Did you see how I dropped that in there?
I hadn't seen it yet.
Did you see how I dropped my links in there?
Hey, by the way,
that's professional.
There you go. Man, that's subtle.
When I write those articles, I write the child. Like I feel like a scumbag if I write Baby Yoda. You know, it's like using the wrong there. I'm like, come on, show a little bit of AP sourcebook knowledge here.
So now it's
right, the child, all caps, right? So now I got a name. So now I got 3 names in my head that I'm like Baby Yoda, the child, Grogu. It's like like one of those things that you put babies under. What are those things called? In their crib.
No, I know what you're talking about.
It's that, but it's just names of Baby Yoda circling around.
Yeah, it's pretty complicated.
Anyway, what are we talking about? Ahsoka? I totally derailed that conversation.
No, I was talking about, dude, that was a big part of their relationship was, we go in, we see automatically Ahsoka asks about him. Like right when she sees him, she knows, okay, this isn't a threat. She goes over to him and then she doesn't have a real exchange with him, but it cuts to nighttime and they're just speaking to each other through the Force. Like that was incredible. And then, the name was a big part. So we were going to get to Grogu at some point.
It's interesting how much is seen with no words. And I'll kind of compare it. I don't know if anybody out here is kind of a Game of Thrones fan, but there's a scene where Jon Snow and was the dragon and Drogon, they're just staring at each other, and it's literally like 4 minutes of just silence, and it's an incredibly powerful scene. But to relate the two, like that's what that personally reminded me of, and it can be so impactful because it leaves it such open to interpretation of what's happening in that conversation, like the motivations, the emotions, all those sort of things going on.
No, you're so right. You're absolutely right, and that was a comment actually. This is like way big throwback. That was a comment that I remember making amongst my friends before I was on YouTube and Twitter about literally the first episode of this series. The first episode of this series, which is still like ranked really high on my list, has such minimal dialogue in it. Like there's almost, there might be less than 5 minutes of speaking lines if you lay them all end to end, I think in that episode. But that episode is somehow one of the best ones. I think that is such an underrated part of filmmaking these days. It's just letting audiences figure out what's happening for themselves. Show, don't tell, right? You have a medium at your disposal. You have a screen. Use it. And this is something that you guys can attest to as Marvel fans. I think Marvel gets away from that. Marvel's a real tell, not show sort of movie. Am I wrong? Like they tell you things. Here's what's happening. Oh, yeah. Here's what's happening.
I think now that you bring it up, it's like they show it, but I don't think people don't realize it. So you have to tell. They make it so hidden that you're like you have to know already to see it.
I think no, you're total. I agree. but I think it's such an important part of this series, and it's something that helps keep it apart from actual other Star Wars movies, especially the new ones, because they're all very like, tell me, don't show me, right? Like, oh, we're gonna go blow up Star Killer Base now. Let's go. Everybody humps in their, everybody jumps in the X-wings. We're blowing up Star Killer Base now. We gotta fire the bombs. That's what kind of movie Star Wars is, right? And it's fun and it's hilarious. But like, The Mandalorian doesn't do that. The Mandalorian has scenes like this with Ahsoka, where it's like very minimal, very what you need to know, and what moves the story along, and that's it. I think that's fantastic. It's fantastic.
So when she's telling Mando, and that's also for Mando too, with the whole Baby Yoda conversation. I don't know whether to call him Din or to call him Mando. So it's like every time I say his name, I almost feel bad calling him Mando because same right, man. But when she's telling Din his, Grogu's backstory, you have to. She straight up tells you, but it's incredible. Like, he didn't say a word, but she knows all this. So what do you guys take of that? I thought it was.
Nick and I actually we had this conversation a little bit last night, and we kind of looked at it at a slightly different way.
Oh, he broke up.
And I think that this is where the interpretation.
Go back. We lost you after you said
no. Okay,
we looked at it a different way, and then he's just stopped.
Okay, so we looked at it at different angles, I think, and obviously, like Grogu is a child, but like he's fully aware of like what's happening, like he's conscious, like he's intelligent, those sort of things, but he can't effectively communicate right now. I don't think Ahsoka, that he was telling Ahsoka this. I think like she had to have had some sort of connection with him beforehand.
Oh, you think she knew him before the movie? Before this? You don't think this was their first meeting?
I don't know if it necessarily if it wasn't their first meeting, but she had to have some sort of like information on who was training like on Coruscant like that. Especially with her like being around Anakin so much and around the council so much, I guarantee like she had to have done some helping, training, those sort of things with the younglings that were there at the time.
I don't discredit that at all.
Sorry, go ahead.
Alec, I don't discredit that at all. I think there's a chance. I'm on more of the thought train that she met him for the first time in that forest, and just through the Force they have this connection.
Yeah,
right.
See in that scene where she's like kind of nodding at him, and he like kind of looks around, and they're like going back, and you can see it in their eyes, and there's a little bit like a this movement, or like a like you're talking but you're not actually talking.
Right.
I think that they literally just communicated through their power.
Yeah.
Now, and that's
right. I could be completely wrong. But I think again I think that's why people come at things at different angles. I think that what kind of makes things interesting.
I just think that if she would have known who he was before, that conversation between her and Mando would have happened right there, because she would have already known.
True.
Oh, this is the one that got taken, but they had to pan to later. So you wonder how long Ahsoka and Baby Yoda had been staring at each other like that, because it's midday when they find each other, and then it pans to, it seems like late at night. So who knows how long they were just conversing without words, because Din is pacing. Din was pacing that entire time they're there. So I'm sure he was getting antsy just seeing these two creatures stare at each other. Not creatures, like beings is what I meant.
You know what? I never even thought about him pacing, but now that I'm kind of putting the pieces together, Din's been pretty antsy the last couple of episodes. Yeah, you realize that? Like in the first season, he doesn't seem like that. But the only person he's really left Baby Yoda with is someone he trusts. He only leaves him with, what's her name? Right? No, he doesn't. Doesn't he leave him with
Frog Lady?
Frog Lady, but doesn't he leave him with no, he doesn't.
on Tatooine.
On Tatooine, but he doesn't. I've completely
what's her name?
He doesn't.
Well,
the mechanic.
He leaves.
Not in this season. In the first season, he does.
Right.
Yeah, in the first season he did.
But here's the point I'm trying to make. Din, as a father figure, I think is becoming more aware that like he can't just leave Baby Yoda around. Remember when he goes to the school? He's like, wait, no, don't leave him here.
Yeah,
and Grief has to be like, dude, it's a school. Relax. He's gonna be okay, right? And then Din's like, okay, like I trust you. Fine, he can stay. And then like here, he gives him over to Ahsoka, and he even doesn't even trust Ahsoka. But why should he? He doesn't know anything about the Jedi. He doesn't know anything about Ahsoka, right? He thinks that they're enemy sorcerers for real. So like, obviously,
that'd be hard.
Like letting him sit there and just talk with Ahsoka. That's a big part of his character that, Nick, I don't know if you intentionally brought that up, but that's a big part of his character this season is him like learning to become protective of this being, right?
I think I just pointed out something like, I could tell that he was, I think he was antsy from, I think you're exactly right, 100%. I was coming at it a lot more simpler, but like everything you said makes sense. Like I think that is a very valid reason why he'd be pacing too, because imagine just sitting there. I mean, it could have been hours that they were just sitting there not talking to each other.
Yeah, dude.
The whole show up to this point has been him trying to get Grogu to a Jedi. Now he's at the Jedi. Now he's just like, yo, what's next? Like, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
like
it's what do I do with this kid? Like,
but isn't that like such a like primal parental instinct? Like, imagine like if your kid's sick and he has to go to the hospital, and you just want the best for your kid, right? You're just like, okay, what hospital do we have to go to now? Where do we have to go? Where do we have to go? I have to go here. I have to go here. And finally, you get there, and you're like, what do I need to do now? Right? Like, where's the medicine? What surgery does he need? You're constantly asking questions as a parent, and that's kind of what's made this season really humanized, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the impact that it's had on us as mere mortals. We're not all Mandalorians, but I think on a basic human understanding, we can come at it as this, I know exactly what he's feeling sort of level. Like, we can look at Din and see his antsiness and see his willingness to be so protective of Grogu. See what I did there?
It's hard.
It's the human aspect of it. It's like we see him being protective and we're like, I know exactly what that feels like. And I think that's what makes this show really special, really like deep down inside, especially this season.
Yeah, definitely. I think another thing that did it for me, like making me feel like that, was when she mentioned Yoda. And let's talk about this, and then we'll kind of move on to like the ending with all that good stuff that happened with that final battle. But her bringing up Yoda, I thought was really interesting because going along their connection, Grogu now we know Grogu has understood what's going on around him. He can pay attention. Like, he knows exactly what's going on in his surroundings. When they talk about Yoda, Ahsoka says, I haven't seen another one of his kind except for an old Jedi, whatever she said, an old Jedi Master Yoda. And when you see Baby Yoda look up, and then they share another little moment. They have the camera go on him, look up at her, and then they have it go back to her, and they have another little connection where they don't say anything, but the camera goes back between them like 3 or 4 times, and you can tell that a little dialect is being had
shared
between them.
Yeah.
Yes, shit. So I just would really like to know what was going on in that little instance between Grogu and Ahsoka.
I saw this on TikTok too, which is full of Star Wars stuff right now, and I love it. When in that scene, it looks like Grogu is kind of like dozing off, right? Then she mentions Yoda, he perks up, and you say like, what's going on in the conversation? His face, like Grogu looks sad after the fact. So I guarantee it was something along the lines of like her telling him like that he's gone. Like, I'm sure like he had some training from him.
This is hitting me, man. Like this is just deep.
So the two had to know
stuff.
Yeah. There's a good chance that Ahsoka and Yoda probably, or Grogu, what are you doing to me? Making me look like an idiot.
Come on, man. Don't put
There's
that on us.
There's a good chance that during that conversation, Ahsoka had to break it to Grogu, like, listen, bro, like, the Jedi, not really a thing anymore. You know, like, you're looking at maybe one of the last, she doesn't know how many Jedi are left, right? So she's probably like, it's me and, maybe Ezra's out there and, like, who else is out there? So that's probably a tough conversation. I wonder if that'll ever be brought up again. I wonder if that will be part of the story going forward. And that leads into the next thing, like where they're taking him. Like, I wonder if that's going to be a big kind of story piece when they go to Tython.
I think, like, moving forward too, like, he has to start talking at some point. I feel like he's not going to be a baby forever. At some point, I feel like that's when we'll get a lot more stories because he'll be able to tell them if he remembers them. I know they say his mind got foggy and stuff, but
let me ask you this. This is totally not part of this episode's conversation, but now that you brought that up, do you boys think that the next season will be more of a time jump? Like, this season was back to back. Like, it was last season ended, we had like a week, and now it's this season. Like, this was kind of like one continuous timeline.
Yeah.
Do you think next season we'll get a time jump and we'll see, like, oh, Baby Yoda, Grogu, he's kind of grown up a little bit. Maybe he talks next season. What are the odds that happens?
I think we could get, well, obviously, but I think we would have a much more solid idea of what would happen next season at the end of this season, because if he runs into more people, like, I feel at some point we should see Sabine or Ezra, or with the name drop Thrawn. We'll get into that in a minute, but we have some of these people. I feel like they have to come in at some point. So I don't know. I'm really confused of where they're going. But you said it. We have no clue what's going to happen these next 3 episodes. So that'd be interesting.
That's what has me intrigued right now. Like, that's what has my attention, to be all, like, honest with you. Like, I'm
100%.
I'm completely brain dead when it comes to what's coming up in the next episode, and that's kind of exciting, I guess. It's kind of thrilling that we don't really know.
100%. So let's get to some of this towards the end. Let me look at my notes really quick. So we talked about Yoda, all that good stuff.
This kid with his notes. This is hilarious.
I know, right? Dude, there was so much to unpack. This is the first episode I've done with notes in a solid month and a half, because we've just been going in. But this one, I just didn't want to miss anything, because there was so much to unpack.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I feel like you could take multiple episodes to attack this one episode, but let's just get to Her Majesty. Her name was Morgan Elsbeth. That is an interesting past too, and what she started there.
Oh yeah,
because she says anger let her fuel in an industry which helped build the Imperial Starfleet. And speaking of the Starfleet, we have more of a connection to Thrawn with the droid with the logo on the side of the helmet. That's the 7th Fleet, right?
Right.
The 7th Fleet, which we see Thrawn command. So you can see how her and Thrawn would be connected. But let's just get right into this name drop. What do we think of Thrawn getting thrown in there during this samurai battle?
Go ahead, Alec. You can take this one, because I got a lot to say about it.
Well, again, for those of you who watched the reaction, we got.
Oh man, you froze.
At the end of Rebels, we don't really know.
You froze. You froze. You said we got, and then you froze.
The cliffhangers. You're really throwing.
I know.
Cliffhangers in this episode, Alec. We love it.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. What were you saying?
No, we got hype in that reaction video, man.
Well, if you remember, I called it like earlier. I was like,
you did call it. I agree.
Is it Thrawn? Because I was like, who is this girl's master? And then I thought, I was like, is it Gideon? Is it Thrawn? And then that name drop was just awesome. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're good. Alec. You're good. It was just weird hearing her say it, because it was kind of out of the blue a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn? I'm just like, no way.
What?
Like, did we hear that right?
Yeah.
Like, no way this is happening. So when that's going to happen, who knows? I'm just very happy to know that it's going to be relevant in some way, shape, or form.
Yes. Ian, let's hear it, man. You look like you have some stuff to say.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'll be straight up. I don't know in this episode if she had worked for Grand Admiral Thrawn, the magistrate, in the past, or she was working for Grand Admiral Thrawn now, because that's an important distinction.
Yes.
You could make an argument both ways. You could make an argument for both. She has both worked with him in the past, and she's working for him now. I haven't figured that out yet about this episode, because if it's worked past tense, then it's kind of a dead end lead, because the magistrate's probably like, bro, I don't know where Thrawn is. Nobody knows where that guy is. But if it's working for Thrawn, well, now we got something. But I agree with you, Alec, on the fact that it was sort of out of the blue. If you had asked me,
emphasis on the blue.
There we go.
Hey, this
there
guy. If you had asked me a couple weeks ago if we were going to get a Thrawn name drop in this season, I would have said no way. There's no chance. If I had actually gone into this season not knowing the Ahsoka news, I probably would have given you a good chance Ahsoka's in this season. But I feel like the difference between Ahsoka and Thrawn is just their character level. Ahsoka's a major character in the universe, right? Like a major, major player in the universe. Thrawn, beloved by fans, but not by general audiences. And that's how I approach my Star Wars sort of predictions is, would the general audience know what this is without, having to go on Wikipedia? So like when Ahsoka shows up,
that's a great
probably
point.
70% of the fan base is going to be like, there's Ahsoka, no way. Not 5% of the fan base is going to be like, oh my God, a Thrawn name drop, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the sort of level that this is at. But it sort of opens up this can of worms for this show now where it's like, damn, like I went into this thinking that like we were going to get Ahsoka and that was going to be the big reveal. But like now that we've name dropped Thrawn, the level of characters that are now on the table to show up in the show are like through the roof, right? Like this just completely opened up Pandora's box for characters, right? Because now we almost have two stories going on, which is the other thing about this name drop is like now we've kind of opened up two different avenues. Now you have the Din and Grogu like trying to be a Jedi avenue, and now you have Ahsoka still searching for Ezra through Grand Admiral Thrawn avenue. And this is, I'm interested to see how these stories come back to each other.
Right, it's kind of the same thing as Game of Thrones again, where it might cut back and forth, like you're following Ahsoka for a little bit, cut to Cara Dune for a little while,
or
Bing Bang Bong.
Let me ask you this:
back and forth.
I got to get this out. I just thought of this. With the news coming out that Cara Dune and Bo-Katan could get their own Disney Plus series, do you think Mandalorian is still going to stay on that track of Mando and Baby Yoda, and then this Ahsoka Grand Admiral Thrawn thing will happen with Bo-Katan and Cara Dune? Because
I actually have no idea. I truth be told, I haven't really thought about it too much.
Yeah.
The rumors, obviously, I don't buy too much into the rumors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've told you guys, like, if it's not on StarWars.com, you got to take it with a grain of salt, right? Like, there's a few websites that I trust. The Hollywood Reporter is one of them. Vanity Fair is one of them. The major news outlets, NBC, ABC, CBS, trust those guys. If it comes out on, like, the direct, can't trust it. If it comes out on Cosmic Book News, don't trust it.
Yeah.
And these are where those rumors are coming out of. So I haven't really thought too much about it, but I hope not, Nick. To be honest with you,
really,
I hope not.
Like you hope there won't be a show, or you hope Ahsoka won't.
I hope that this show isn't watered down to just like let's name drop for the sake of name drop, so that we can get other storylines going for books and comics and other TV shows. Because not that you can't do it in a good way, because obviously this episode is a great example of being able to do it in a good way. You can name drop and still have it be relevant, and just kind of be at the back end of the episode and just make fans go, wow, that was crazy, but still have a big story beat.
Yeah.
But I hope that this series just doesn't become this really great story, ending shock value name drop for so-and-so Series X, and then we worry about that for 4 months, right? Like, I hope that this series maintains an identity. Like, it maintains its sort of track. And that's why I'm talking about, like, if you're going to name drop Thrawn, then you better have a way to rope him into the story. Because you don't, when you write a script, especially for this kind of caliber of streaming, you just don't put stuff in there just for funsies, right? You don't just say, like, oh, let's just do this for fun. It has to mean something. It has to lead to something.
This is a nationally recognized show. Like, this is this is the real deal right here.
I mean, this is Disney Plus right now. Like, can we agree on that? Like, The Mandalorian is pretty much Disney Plus at the moment. They're
100%.
I love Disney. I'm not watching anything else on Disney Plus. I swear to God.
I know. I haven't been watching a lot
for
either.
The Mandalorian. But if you're going to name drop Thrawn and you're going to have everybody go on Google 2 minutes after the thing and like, who's Grand Admiral Thrawn? You better be able to back that up.
Yeah, dude, you're absolutely right.
Like, that better not be, like, you better not be able, like, that should not be a commercial for Rebels, right? Like,
you're 100%.
You got to bring it back. And truth be told, I don't know how you do that. But again, I'm not the writer. I haven't thought about it too much. This has been a whirlwind weekend, between us trying to get, reviews out and reactions out 15
Such a
times.
pain, man.
Disney was like, no reactions to this episode.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was rough.
I haven't really thought about it, but like, that's my view on it. Is like, if you're gonna name drop this stuff, if you're gonna put Ahsoka into this series, be serious about it. It has to mean something for this series, and obviously it does. Ahsoka, I think, is going to be back.
Yeah,
in this series. I think Din has found a friend in Ahsoka. Knows
someone
how
he
to
can trust again.
Her. Right? Like, listen, like, Grogu's acting up. Grogu's doing this weird thing. What's going on? Like, one of those kinds of people.
Kind of like Auntie Edna in The Incredibles.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, don't bring him here again, but I'll take him.
That's exactly it.
Oh,
like,
goodness.
Auntie Ahsoka, I'm having Jedi issues. Can we figure this out, please?
Oh, my goodness.
But, like, that's a good example of that. Like, if you're going to bring Ahsoka in, make sure she's in. She's part of the story, right? Look at how Rebels did it. They brought in Ahsoka, but she became part of the story. She became an important part of the Rebels storyline. She wasn't just in there because, like, oh, we want Clone Wars fans to watch this show too. Like, it was part of her story arc. That's what The Mandalorian has to continue to do. It can't be watered down to just be this bouncing off point for the Bo-Katan series or the Cara Dune series or the Cassian series. Whatever is going to happen, it can't be that. The Mandalorian is now this award-winning television show. It has to have and it has to maintain an identity.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like, I do think that if they did spin it off a little bit, I feel like they could converge it at The Mandalorian again at some point. Because, I'm a big MCU fan, as everybody knows, big MCU guy. So I can see how it would work where you kind of go on your separate little journeys, but it all ends up at the same place. But I think the show, if they were to do that, the show would have to, and I think it would survive on its own without those other elements too.
And that's, this is the stupidest example. You guys are going to roll your eyes at this one. On NBC in 2016, they came out with Chicago Fire. You guys watch this show?
I don't.
I've seen it.
So everybody's seen the commercials for Chicago Fire, right? That came out in 2016 after the Olympics. I remember seeing the commercials on during the Olympics. And I started watching that show. And then the cop in that show, the bad boy cop, like the dirty cop, the bad guy character, gets his own spinoff show, Chicago PD, right?
Oh, wow.
But then some of the firefighters become EMS, paramedics. Then they come out with Chicago Med. And now it's this big event at night where it's 3 hours long. And you have to watch Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and then Chicago MD back to back to back to get any sort of story relevance. I don't want that to happen in The Mandalorian.
Because
now
that.
Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago MD becomes this one big mess. Like, it just becomes one show. Like,
that's what ruined Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, all the CW, DC shows, is that they all correlated. Like, the crossovers and all that stuff, and it just became too much.
You totally lose track of where you are. You're like, what's going on? Like, where's this character? What's going on with this character? It just becomes this one big like if you're going to do all these spin-off shows, make sure they're like their own separate things, like have their own story beats. Is it okay to like bring in the Mando into the Cara Dune show? Yeah, sure, absolutely. Go ahead. Do it once. Do it twice, maybe. Don't make it this 3-hour event every week.
I'm sorry. I thought that was
shows. But yeah, no, I'm going to finish this up right now. Then the shows just become irrelevant. Like then the individual shows just become irrelevant. Why even bother doing 3 shows? Just make a 3-hour movie every week. Like if that's what we're going to do, then that's what you're going to do.
I think if it were to happen, and I just keep going back to if, I think one of the good things is that they have Jon Favreau, which is very well-versed at doing this thing with Iron Man, Spider-Man, having that story where it's still off the main timeline, but it still connects. I think that if it were to happen, he would be a big help with that, because if they're going to follow anybody's example, it needs to be Marvel Studios.
Marvel's the only franchise that I can think of off the top of my head that has done these branch off shows and has converged all at one point. And it was like, wow, this is spectacular.
Well, imagine I saw it on a Star Wars Theories podcast. Like, imagine if you saw it culminate in one movie. Saw all this stuff come together where you have just this big battle with Thrawn, Ezra, Moff Gideon, Sabine, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, I don't know, Luke. If it, years down the line, if any of this stuff just came out and like you just got a big movie, Endgame style, how nuts would that be?
That'd be
kind of a lot of money to watch that.
Yeah,
that would be
that's a long
like,
shot, but
that would be. Do we know how long this is? 6 years after Return of the Jedi, right?
Yeah.
This show?
Yep.
Okay. So I was gonna say that'd be a really good idea if this show took place like 3 years or 2 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Because then you could have all of these different shows culminate at the Battle of Jakku, like this last final climactic battle of the Galactic Civil War.
I mean,
and everybody's there. That'd be crazy. But because this show takes place after the fact and you're kind of in no man's land, like when the Republic's kind of starting up, I don't know. There's not a whole lot of groundbreaking events right now that they could, unless they make one. But then that becomes an issue. Like, oh well, why wasn't this event mentioned like in The Force Awakens? Or, then you have an issue there. But it could happen. And of course, I'll be the first person in line to go see it. We'd all be there, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. I'm paying money to go see it, but I don't know how, epic it would be.
No, you're absolutely right. I think, man, I'm just excited either way for the future of this show. Like, it has done nothing but surprise and gratify me so far. Like, this has been such amazing Star Wars, and it's just been so exciting.
No, and you're so right. I mean, it's something that I talk about actually on my reviews every week, is that this show, whatever the authentic Star Wars experience is, it's this show. Like, every week it feels like you're watching Star Wars. It's not like there's it manages to encapsulate the aura and the aesthetic and the themes of Star Wars and make it somewhat fresh and new, but you're not questioning what you're watching, right? You're watching it and you're like, this is Star Wars. And you just know it. And that's hard to do. That's extremely hard to do, because I know we've all seen some episodes of the Clone Wars and Rebels where you're like, what am I watching right now?
Yeah.
Like, was this, like, what are we doing? But The Mandalorian, I never have that problem. I'm just like, this is so sick. This is the best Star Wars I've ever watched every week.
I think one thing they do is the music, man. Because, like, in this episode alone, they hinted at, like, Yoda's theme song when they were talking about Yoda just for a few seconds. And then I noticed Ahsoka's theme very heavily, but they Mandalorified it. Like, it sounded like Mandalorian music, but you can hear the past Star Wars in it.
What do you say? Mandalorianized it?
Mandalorified. Like,
I'm going into Urban Dictionary right now. Actually,
I'm gonna trademark that. I'm gonna trademark it.
There you go. You got to make a T-shirt or something.
I know,
Which
right?
I saw you guys are up to.
Dude, we are on Teespring.
You guys better buy some merch. I'm gonna pop over there as soon as this thing's done.
When we hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, man, you best believe we're gonna have one of those little columns for the YouTube stuff.
No doubt.
It's just cool it's cool to see what people create, because once the way I looked at Teespring, like honestly, I looked at yours for a little bit. Like I was like, okay, that's a good product. Like that looks good. And I looked at some people's like designs, like people are very unique on Teespring. Like it's incredible. So if you just have an idea.
I look at it sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do people do this? Like you do this on Photoshop? Like where are you?
No. Oh, I did.
Not me.
I paid Alex's sister to design the Mandalorian's one.
Shout out to Alex's sister.
Exactly.
Check her out. Abby Noel art.
Abby Noel art. It was huge because I just had this idea. I was like, I feel like a person or two would buy this shirt. Mandalorios, it's a little thing. So I just threw it on a shirt, and then, I think we've had like 2 purchases so far, but I was like, that's pretty cool.
Shout out. Buddy. We love that.
And dude, this Mando Ahsoka one, I was like, I got to get this out there. Like these people have to. I got slapped with copyright shit again. I was like, how is this being copyrighted? Like I'm making this thing. Like
that's whack, dude.
It was nuts.
Alex, you've been awfully quiet about your thoughts on future Mando stories. Are you are you not looking forward to the future of this show?
I'm not that I'm not looking forward to it. I'm trying not to set the expectation too high.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
I hope there's these crossover type of events. That would be absolutely fantastic. My big thing is I want to see the end of Ahsoka's timeline. So not her necessarily dying, but like her like call to action kind of coming to an end. I want to see, just little things that have been hinted at so far in Mando that, can be used to further enhance more stories and
rip.
Take, and I'm going to love and watch. Terrible.
What?
Terrible. No, anything they give us, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna watch it. So I'm going to be happy no matter what. And that's just me. So end of the day, I'm pumped for anything.
Exactly. I got to get your take, boys, on this. In the car ride home today, I'm thinking about Ahsoka's story. And I'm thinking about the fact that this has been kind of going on for a little while. Is the heartbreak of this show going to be Ahsoka biting the dust? Like is that what we're leading to here? Because like Dave's got to know he can't keep your baby forever, man. Like, she's got to go. At some point, she's got to go.
Yeah, I think it's hard because she's not that old, especially for a Jedi. And when you think about the average Jedi age, I feel like from what we've seen, hasn't been that old. But I feel like she's different. She's Ahsoka. She's been that embodiment of the light side. So once she goes, who's going to take over that role? Because there has to be someone in Star Wars after her, death or transformation into the Force that takes over that role of just the light side of the Force.
I mean, you can make the argument right now in the point in the timeline, it's Luke. Like, you have a Jedi out there. But I think once you continue down this path, like, oh, Ahsoka's still alive, then you run into the fact that, like, now people are going to question, well, where was she, like, when Luke needed help? Right? Like, Ahsoka's this great person. Like, can we figure out, like, where the hell she was when Luke's whole life was turned upside down? Like, we don't even know if she knows Luke Skywalker. Like, to me, it's like this big story moment that people are not capitalizing on. Like,
she was there for the original. She was there through the original trilogy, but where was she? Like,
I don't know. And that these are big story beats that we don't know about Ahsoka that I think have to get kind of resolved before we say goodbye to her forever.
Exactly. All right. So for those of you who made it this far, we really appreciate you tuning in to episode 18. I think we had a lot of emotion come out. So many great ideas and so much positivity here. I dropped my pen. So much positivity here.
We were so close.
I know. I was so close. So much positivity that comes out of the show, but as a little negative thing happens. But Ian, man, we really appreciate you coming on. It's always a pleasure, man.
You guys know you can have me on the show whenever you want. I'm a huge fan of you guys. I told you guys when you're on the Death Star Dispatch podcast. I mean, you guys just kill it out here. You boys keep it real all the time with the Star Wars stuff. And there's nothing but positivity that comes out of this podcast. And that's all I could want as a Star Wars fan, is to just watch other Star Wars fans be amped about Star Wars. And when you got episodes like this of The Mandalorian that come out, and it's 33, 45 minutes of goodness. How do you just not smile through the whole thing? I'm just so happy that you guys invited me on so I could, spread my feelings about this. And it's just been a real pleasure.
Dude, that was poetic, man.
We're so glad to have you, man. Nick, man, you're absolutely right. It's poetic, man. That's beautiful. So
you guys are going to make me blush. And it's not just because it's hot in this room. You guys are making me feel, dog. But anytime, right? Man. Anytime you want to have me on, I'll gladly hop on.
For sure. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, and we'll let you go,
Absolutely.
Man.
Of course, you can find me on Twitter at @TalkWithMyHans_. We were this close, boys, to getting Talking with My Hans. We were like 3 characters off, but Twitter was like, no, we have strict policy. So, okay, Talk with My Hans _. You can find me there. And then, of course, on YouTube, you can find me at Talking with My Hans. We are on there a lot this month. I've been posting a lot in November, and pretty much as far as The Mandalorian goes, I'm out there every week. Every weekend we got reactions, we got a review, and then usually there's a video in the middle of the week as well. I try not to post too much because I feel like people are like, can this kid just shut up already? We get it. You like
I feel the same way.
Week. But there's stuff to talk about. I'm thinking just about this week. I just posted my reaction, and now I want to talk about what Ahsoka's future is in the show. I want to talk about why Rosario Dawson was picked to play Ahsoka and not Ashley Eckstein, because there's been a lot of that going around in some of these podcasts,
definitely.
But that's a whole nother topic, and that's really something that I wanted to get off my chest, something I wanted to try to help people understand a little bit why Ashley is on the sidelines and we got Rosario in the show. I think it's an important distinction to make. But yeah, feel free to come on by. I'm always happy to have new viewers and subscribers. All that nonsense. And of course, boys, give the people what they want.
Yes, sir. So
you guys are the star of the show here.
So we can be found at social media, any social media outlet you can think of, at Carbonite Convos. You can find us clearly on YouTube at Carbonite Convos, and every major podcast platform at Carbonite Convos. So we lucked out and nobody had taken anything. They let us do it all, so we're all pretty in sync. So I love that. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at FunkoStud. I post some behind-the-scenes stuff, and that's more of my nerd account. And you can follow Alec, old Robert Porterfield over here, at Wallcrawler Pops on Instagram. I know, I'm not going to suck up the spotlight with this one, but you can have both. You can, check us both out on Teespring. We will put Ian's, link to his stuff in the bio.
You are so right.
For sure.
I do have a Teespring, and I do occasionally post.
Yes, you got to check out those designs.
I've been a little slacking recently on the Teespring. Got to be honest with you guys.
Yeah,
but
buddy.
I got back into that. I got one on my computer that I think you guys saw with AP5.
I did.
This is a pure joke.
Throw it up there, man.
Dog.
I mean,
might.
It costs nothing. Who knows?
It costs nothing for me.
Exactly. Me neither. Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, so we'll put those links in the bio. But I don't know what else to say. Alec, what do you got?
Same thing. If you guys have made it through it this far, thanks for tuning in. We always appreciate the support. Ian, my guy, thank you as usual for being a part of this. We really, really appreciate the feedback and you contributing to the convo. So,
yes, sir. All right, guys. But we are gonna let you guys go now. But until next time, may the Force be with you guys.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.